In the dim past of human history, around 50,000 years ago, our ancestors were on the cusp of an intellectual and creative revolution. This era, often called the Upper Paleolithic in Europe and the Late Stone Age in Africa, saw early humans reach an unprecedented level of innovation, shaping tools, art, and ideas that would forever mark our species as thinkers and creators. One of the most defining aspects of this period was a revolution in technology, particularly in the way humans shaped and utilized stone tools. Unlike the basic, bulky hand axes or simple scrapers of earlier periods, these new tools were precise, skillfully crafted, and highly specialized. They marked a clear departure from the past, pointing to a mind capable of foresight, planning, and even aesthetic appreciation. The blade, for instance, is one of the marvels of Upper Paleolithic technology. Found in Lebanon's Ksar site, these blade tools, estimated to be around 52,000 years old, weren't just made to work, but were crafted to last. Each blade was elongated, thin, and carefully shaped, with a symmetry and efficiency that reflects both skill and an understanding of material. Early humans had figured out how to prepare a stone core, or main stone piece, from which they could then detach several similarly shaped blades, almost like a manufacturing process. Imagine these toolmakers, hunched over a core, selecting just the right hammerstone, and striking with a precise angle and force to remove each flake. It wasn't just about brute strength, but about understanding stone itself, its textures, weaknesses, and potential. From sharp edges to elongated points, every detail in these tools showed the maker's control and vision. It's as if they saw the blade within the stone and chipped away only what wasn't necessary. But it didn't stop at simple blades. These humans were experimenting, developing scrapers for hide preparation, burins for carving wood or bone, and even hafted tools with handles attached for better control and efficiency. With these innovations, they could process animal hides faster, carve intricate designs into objects, and perform tasks that would have been difficult or impossible with the old, blunt tools. The detail and skill in these tools don't just tell us about function, they reveal a shift in thinking. By adding handles or crafting smaller, more specialized points, early humans showed a level of anticipation and planning that set them apart. These tools would be effective not only for daily survival tasks, but also for new opportunities, like hunting smaller, faster animals, or harvesting a wider range of plant foods. These tools also open doors to new lifestyles. With blades like these, humans could expand their diets, moving beyond the big game hunts to smaller animals, fish, and edible plants. They could refine clothing and shelters, which became essential as they ventured into colder climates. In a very real way, these new stone technologies weren't just tools, they were keys to new ways of life. So, when we think of our early ancestors in this era, we're not just looking at primitive survivalists. These were craftspeople, engineers, and innovators. Their blades and scrapers tell a story of adaptation, imagination, and intellectual depth that would carry forward, paving the way for the next leaps in human culture and complexity. By the Upper Paleolithic, early humans weren't just surviving, they were mastering the art of the hunt. And with this mastery came a new set of tools and techniques that would forever change their relationship with their environment. Among the most revolutionary of these innovations was the spear thrower, also known as the otlotl. This simple yet ingenious device allowed hunters to throw spears with greater force and accuracy than ever before. It worked as an extension of the arm, providing leverage that enabled hunters to cast their spears much farther and with deadly precision. With this added distance, hunters could keep a safer space between themselves and dangerous prey like bison or mammoths. The spear thrower essentially multiplied a hunter's power, making it possible to kill or disable large game with a single, well-aimed strike. Not only did this make hunting more effective, but it also reduced the risks that hunters faced in close encounters with such formidable animals. But it wasn't just about range. These early hunters also refined the very design of their weapons. Barbed points, crafted with sharp, jagged edges, allowed spears to penetrate deeper and stay lodged within an animal, making escape or recovery much harder. Hunters carved these barbs from bone or stone, meticulously shaping them for maximum effectiveness. In the field, a single barbed point could mean the difference between a successful hunt and an empty-handed return. The sophistication in crafting these weapons reveals a deep understanding of the tool's functionality. Hunters would chip away at flint and bone, sharpening edges, testing balance, and experimenting with design. These barbed points and sharp tips required skill to create, but they also required experience, lessons learned from each hunt, from every encounter with prey that was faster, stronger, and sometimes even more cunning. Beyond the spear thrower and barbed points, hunting technology grew to include nets. Yes, nets woven from natural fibers, a tool that early humans used to trap smaller animals. Evidence from sites like Dolny Vestinus in Europe shows that these nets were crafted with a precision that speaks to the ingenuity of these ancient hunters. They would stretch these nets between trees or over natural openings, trapping rabbits, birds, and other small game. This wasn't just about brute force. It was about strategy and resourcefulness. With tools like these, hunting became more than a matter of endurance. It became a calculated endeavor, a balance of patience, skill, and timing. Hunters used every available tool to maximize their chances, turning even small opportunities into essential sources of food and materials. These advances were not just about survival. They represented a new way of thinking, where humans could manipulate their environment with intention, turning raw nature into a resource. Together, these innovations in hunting technology gave early humans a newfound confidence in their ability to face the challenges of their world. Equipped with the spear thrower, barbed points, and trapping techniques, they no longer simply reacted to their surroundings. They actively shaped their own destiny. One of the key transformations of this era was the way humans broadened their subsistence base. They were no longer simply reliant on large game, animals like mammoths or bison. Instead, they began to diversify their diet and explore an expanding menu of resources. Small animals, fish, birds, and even plants became a part of daily sustenance. Imagine, for a moment, that you're standing by a river in the Upper Paleolithic. Early humans knew that a stream wasn't just a source of water, it was a hub of life. Small fish and freshwater mollusks, hidden beneath stones and reeds, became valuable resources, offering nutrition that complemented the larger game animals they hunted. By adding fish and other aquatic life to their diet, these early humans accessed a whole new source of protein, one that required less risk and energy to obtain. But their dietary expansion didn't stop at fish. Our ancestors discovered edible plants in their environments, roots, seeds, berries, and wild grains that offered carbohydrates, essential vitamins, and variety. Archaeologists have found charred remains of edible plants in ancient hearths at sites like Dolny Vestinus in what is now the Czech Republic, revealing that cooking and preparing plant foods was already a regular part of their lives. The process of gathering plants required a different set of skills from hunting, calling for patience, careful observation, and knowledge of the local landscape. Plants were seasonal and varied in availability, meaning that early humans needed to understand when and where to find each type. Over time, they developed a mental map of the plant resources in their environment, timing their gathering activities to make the most of each season's bounty. Even small mammals became valuable additions to their diet. Using simple snares or nets, they could capture rabbits, birds, and other small animals, which provided fresh meat without the danger and effort of hunting larger prey. This shift to include smaller game allowed humans to adapt to a wider range of environments, including areas where big game might be scarce. In the diversity of their diet, we see evidence of a highly adaptive mindset. This broadening subsistence base wasn't just about survival, it was about choice and flexibility. By tapping into a wide array of resources, early humans reduced their dependence on any single food source, making them more resilient against the ever-changing conditions of the Ice Age environment. This dietary variety gave our ancestors a nutritional edge, supporting larger communities and promoting better health. The addition of plants and small animals meant they could survive in harsher climates, where big game might have migrated or declined. It also freed them from the pressures of exclusively chasing large animals, allowing them to settle longer in one place and focus on other aspects of their lives, like social organization and creative expression. In this way, the Upper Paleolithic era wasn't just a time of technical innovation. It was an age of expanding possibilities. By broadening their subsistence base, early humans reshaped their relationship with the land, finding nourishment in places once overlooked and seeing potential in every corner of their environment. This flexibility and resourcefulness are defining features of our species, traits that would guide humanity as they moved ever closer to the beginnings of settled life and agriculture. For early humans, necessity was the mother of invention. In the Upper Paleolithic period, around 40,000 years ago, they began experimenting with new raw materials, turning bone, antler, ivory, and shell into tools, ornaments, and objects of cultural significance. These new materials offered a versatility that stone couldn't provide, reshaping how they hunted, gathered, and expressed their identities. Unlike stone, which could be sharp but brittle, bone and antler were durable yet flexible. They could be carved into needles, points, and even fishhooks. At sites like Blombo's Cave in South Africa, bone tools dating back over 70,000 years have been uncovered, indicating that early humans were experimenting with these materials far earlier than we once believed. These items were more than just tools. They were the product of skill, patience, and the growing ability to envision what an object could become. Bone needles, for instance, transformed how early humans could survive in colder climates. With the ability to sew hides into fitted clothing, they could stay warm, even in harsh environments. Each stitch made with a bone needle was a step toward greater mobility, allowing them to move into new regions and face colder seasons without losing their edge. Antler, too, became an invaluable resource. When sharpened and shaped, antler tips were perfect for making barbed points, specialized tips that wouldn't easily come loose once they penetrated a target. This design improved the efficiency of hunting, allowing early humans to bring down large game with fewer strikes and ensuring a secure hold on their prey. These tools were sharper, more durable, and carried an engineering genius that showed just how innovative they had become. And then there was ivory and shell, materials that didn't just serve practical purposes but also played a role in personal expression. Ivory, carved from mammoth tusks, could be transformed into beads, pendants, and even small figurines. At sites across Europe, such as the famous sites in Austria and Germany, archaeologists have uncovered intricately carved ivory pieces, showing that these early humans had both the tools and the artistic vision to create adornments and symbols. Seashells, too, were prized materials. Although many ancient sites were located far from the coast, shell beads have been discovered inland, suggesting these items were traded or transported over long distances. These shells, often drilled with holes for stringing, became jewelry, offering early humans a way to signal identity, status, or even group affiliation. In each shell and ivory bead, we see the beginnings of self-expression, the desire to be seen and recognized. This development of new materials went beyond survival. It fostered social bonds, communication, and shared identities. These crafted items were traded, gifted, and worn, becoming symbols of connection within and between groups. With every exchange of a shell bead or carved bone, they were building networks and shaping the earliest forms of culture. For the younger generation, these gatherings provided an invaluable education. Children could observe the adults as they worked, absorbing skills and social norms that would help them survive and thrive. In these camps, the children learned not only how to hunt, gather, and craft, but also how to communicate, collaborate, and form bonds with others, a foundation for social learning and cultural continuity. And as they gathered in the evening around the fire, they shared something more than food or tools. They shared stories, beliefs, and values. These moments of storytelling and ritual gave life a deeper meaning, binding individuals to something greater than themselves. Through these gatherings, they passed down traditions, taught moral lessons, and reinforced bonds that would hold their communities together across seasons and landscapes. These seasonal camps, temporary as they may have been, were the seeds of something monumental. Each gathering taught early humans how to live together, how to collaborate, and how to respect the rules of communal life. Here, in the early morning light of the Upper Paleolithic, we see the beginnings of society, the first steps toward the villages and cities that would one day rise from this instinct to gather, share, and connect. In the Upper Paleolithic, early humans began creating objects that went beyond mere survival, objects with no practical purpose, yet full of meaning. These non-utilitarian items, from beads and pendants to carvings and figurines, signaled an evolution in thought, a shift toward self-expression and identity. They were no longer just surviving. They were beginning to see themselves, to mark their place in the world. Beads and pendants, made from materials like bone, shell, and even mammoth ivory, were some of the earliest forms of adornment. Each bead was meticulously shaped, polished, and often drilled to be worn as jewelry. For the first time, early humans could wear symbols of who they were, symbols that might represent family ties, personal achievements, or connections to their community. These beads weren't just decorative. They may have served as status symbols, showing the wearer's access to rare materials or their skill in crafting. Shells, for example, were often found hundreds of miles from the coast, indicating they were brought through trade or long journeys. Wearing a shell necklace in an inland community was a sign of connection, a reminder of the larger world beyond the immediate landscape. Among the most intriguing of these non-utilitarian objects are the Venus figurines, small sculptures that emphasize the human form, often with exaggerated features. These figures, carved from materials like stone, ivory, and bone, are found across Europe, each one unique yet bearing similar forms. Were they symbols of fertility, icons of beauty, or even representations of a deity? Their purpose remains a mystery, but their creation speaks volumes about the human mind and its search for meaning. Animals, too, were frequent subjects of these early carvings. Small figures depicting bison, deer, and other wildlife have been found at sites across Europe. Each carving displays an intimate knowledge of the animal's anatomy and behavior, a respect for the creatures they hunted and relied upon. These objects may have been carried as totems, symbols of protection, or even as expressions of gratitude to the animals they depended on for survival. These non-utilitarian objects may have also played a role in ritual gatherings. Around fires and in caves, early humans would come together, perhaps to share stories, perform ceremonies, or celebrate milestones. The presence of these objects added layers of meaning to these gatherings, turning them into moments that transcended daily survival. They were part of rituals, part of storytelling, a tangible way to connect with each other and with the forces they believed guided their lives. Beyond physical objects, early humans left their mark through cave art and handprints, images that would endure long after they had gone. These marks were non-utilitarian, yet profoundly expressive, turning cave walls into records of existence, permanence, and perhaps even an attempt to reach beyond mortality. Each handprint, each animal figure, was a testament to their place in the world, a statement saying, "I was here. I am part of this story." Through these objects, we glimpse early humanity's emerging sense of self, their awareness of community, and their understanding of beauty. These non-utilitarian items were not necessities for survival, yet they were crafted, cherished, and carried, showing that humans had begun to seek meaning beyond the physical world. They were symbols of identity, spirituality, and connection, a preview of the profound cultural and artistic expressions that would continue to shape human civilization. In the Upper Paleolithic, burials began to take on a new level of significance. Early humans were no longer simply laying their dead to rest. They were honoring them, surrounding them with items of meaning, as if sending them off into another realm with the tools and symbols that mattered most. These were elaborate burials, carefully planned, filled with artifacts, and infused with a sense of reverence that speaks volumes about their beliefs, their relationships, and their understanding of life and death. Grave goods were an essential part of these burials. Items like beads, jewelry, and tools were often placed around the body, sometimes arranged with clear intention. At the Sungur site in Russia, a 34,000-year-old burial was discovered with two children laid to rest side by side, each adorned with thousands of ivory beads and surrounded by intricate artifacts. Every bead was a symbol, each tool a reminder, all carefully crafted and placed to accompany them in death as they had in life. These beads weren't just decorations. They represented hours of labor and skill. Each ivory bead would have taken time to shape, polish, and pierce. Yet hundreds, even thousands, of these beads were often found in a single grave. For these early humans, burying the dead with such treasures wasn't a casual act. It was a powerful display of respect, an investment of time and resources to honor those who had passed. The placement of items also held meaning. In many of these burials, objects were not randomly scattered but arranged with intention. Tools might be placed near the hands, beads near the head, and symbolic items like carved figures carefully positioned. Each placement could represent a relationship, a role, or a cherished memory, clues about how these early humans viewed the afterlife and the importance of carrying one's identity beyond death. Many of these burials took place in caves, where early humans may have seen connections between life, death, and the mysteries of nature. Caves were places of shelter but also of symbolism, where they left handprints, animal images, and marks of ritual. By burying their dead here, surrounded by these symbols, they may have been creating sacred spaces where the deceased would forever be part of the land and the stories written on its walls. Red ochre, a pigment used in rituals and art, was often sprinkled over bodies in these graves. This practice wasn't accidental. It was a choice filled with meaning. The red color, resembling blood, may have symbolized life, rebirth, or transformation, marking a symbolic journey from one existence to the next. For these ancient people, ochre was more than a color. It was a language of belief, a way to send the deceased on their way with protection, honor, and perhaps a touch of immortality. Even in their simplicity, these burials showed an understanding of ritual. Early humans approached death not just as an end but as a transition, a moment to honor and remember. In placing these items, in covering bodies with ochre, they were expressing something profound, a connection that lasted beyond life, a bond that would survive in memory and ritual. These elaborate burials reveal the early inklings of spirituality, of a belief in something greater than the individual life. Each grave, each artifact, each touch of red ochre tells a story of love, memory, and a growing understanding of the world beyond. The beginnings of ritual, of reverence, and of a timeless human connection to those who came before. In the deep darkness of caves, early humans began to leave marks that spoke of something beyond survival. Marks that were symbols, expressions, and glimpses into a world of ideas and beliefs. These were the beginnings of symbolic expression through art, a form of communication that went far beyond words. In caves like Lascaux and Chauvet in France, vivid images of bison, horses, and lions come to life, capturing the spirit of the animals and the reverence our ancestors held for them. These images were not just decorations. The careful detail, the choice of colors, and the dynamic poses all hint that these paintings were created with a purpose, perhaps as part of rituals or as symbols of respect for the animals they depended on. By painting bison, horses, and deer, early humans may have been connecting with these creatures, seeking their strength, or honoring their role in the cycle of life. And then, there are the handprints, personal imprints left behind by the artists themselves, like signatures carved into time. These handprints say, "I was here," and in that simple gesture, they reveal a profound connection to self, to existence, and to community. Each handprint might have served as a mark of identity, a way to participate in the creation of something greater than the individual, a way to belong to the story on these walls. Beyond animals and handprints, early humans experimented with abstract forms, lines, dots, and spirals that had no obvious connection to the natural world. These geometric patterns remain a mystery, but they hint at an advanced symbolic language. Perhaps they represented concepts, cycles, or beliefs that words alone couldn't capture. In their simplicity and repetition, they reflect an evolving human mind capable of abstraction, imagination, and perhaps even a sense of spirituality. Red ochre, a rich, earthy pigment, became a vital part of their artistic palette. Used not only for painting but also in burials and rituals, ochre was more than a color, it was a symbol. To paint with ochre was to breathe life into the walls, to connect the earthly with the ethereal. The warm, blood-like red of ochre carried a power that linked them to the mysteries of life and death, the material and the spiritual. Art wasn't confined to cave walls alone. Early humans created portable art, carvings on bone, antler, and ivory that could be carried with them, sacred symbols or tokens of protection. Figurines like the Venus statues, with their rounded, exaggerated forms, suggest a deep reverence for fertility, life, and the feminine. These small sculptures may have been personal symbols, representations of hope, or even protective charms. Through each carved line, each rounded curve, early humans were expressing their beliefs, their fears, and their aspirations. These artistic expressions also played a role in storytelling and ritual. Around fires and in sacred spaces, they likely shared stories of their ancestors, the animals they hunted, and the spirits they believed guided their lives. Art became a language, a bridge between the seen and the unseen, allowing them to connect with each other and with forces beyond their control. In these gatherings, their painted stones and carved figures were more than mere objects. They were links to a shared understanding of the world, a communal language that bound them together. In these images, we see more than animals and shapes. We see an awakening, an understanding of the world that went beyond survival, that captured beauty, awe, and reverence. These works of art show that early humans felt deeply and thought broadly, that they wondered about the unknown and sought to give it form, to tell its story on stone. For decades, scholars, artists, and archaeologists have pondered the meaning of these mysterious cave paintings, striving to uncover why early humans created them and what they might have represented. These questions have sparked endless interpretations and debates, each theory offering a glimpse into the complex minds of our ancestors and the worlds they inhabited. One common theory is that these paintings were part of hunting magic, a ritual meant to summon success in the hunt or show respect to the animals they depended on. In this view, painting powerful animals like bison, horses, and deer wasn't just an artistic act. It was a way to connect with the animal spirits, to honor them and ensure that they would continue to offer themselves as sustenance. By recreating these animals in vivid detail, early humans might have believed they were engaging in a spiritual relationship, asking for strength, guidance, or forgiveness. Others argue that the handprints, dots, and abstract symbols found alongside animal images point to something more personal. Could these handprints be individual signatures, markers of identity, or even a form of early written language? Some researchers suggest that these symbols may have conveyed information, a language of sorts, capturing social bonds, family identities, or territories. Each handprint might have been a declaration of belonging, a mark of presence and individuality within the vastness of the world. The presence of abstract shapes has led some to propose that these paintings might represent early expressions of altered states of consciousness. Inspired by the repetitive patterns found in many cultures' spiritual and shamanic practices, some scholars suggest that these shapes could represent visions experienced during rituals or trances. The spirals and dots may have been attempts to depict the intangible, a visual language reaching into the realm of the supernatural or transcendent, giving form to the indescribable experiences that shaped their beliefs. Then there are the figurines, like the Venus statues, whose exaggerated human forms, often with large hips, breasts, and stomachs, suggest themes of fertility, creation, and the feminine. Some believe these figures represent a cultural reverence for fertility and motherhood, icons of life and renewal that symbolized continuity in the cycles of nature. Others suggest they might have been personal talismans, symbols of protection or luck that individuals carried with them to ensure their well-being. And yet, despite all these theories, we cannot know with certainty what these artworks meant to the people who created them. Perhaps they were all these things and more, a mixture of ritual, identity, magic, and community. Perhaps each artist saw something unique, something deeply personal that we may never fully understand. What we do know is that these artworks were meaningful enough to span generations, carried out with skill, precision, and care, and left behind to speak to those who came after. In these paintings, we see a language that transcends words, a language of shapes, colors, and forms that resonates with us today, despite the millennia that separate us. They reveal a humanity that saw itself as part of a larger story, deeply intertwined with the natural world, each other, and perhaps even forces beyond their understanding. Through their art, early humans began to express the universal experiences of awe, wonder, and curiosity, the same feelings that drive us to study and connect with these ancient masterpieces today. We'd love to hear your thoughts on possible future topics. What areas of human evolution would you like to explore next? Leave your suggestions in the comments, and let's keep the conversation going. As always, our references and further reading are listed in the description below if you'd like to dive deeper into the subject. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.